So we're gonna take a look at the last list, which is Ruben, which he did lose. He did go 4-1, but let's take a look at his list with the chonks, is what he called it. So he got the Beast Boss on foot, 2 of them. Captain Badrook, Miles Rise Cragbag, Nalbun, Smash Squid with Edwappa's Kill Chopper, and then a War Boss with Follow Me Lab. 2 unit of Beast Snagga Boys, 4 trucks, Flash Kits, 2 units of Gretchen, 1 unit of Knobs, 1 big unit of Squinkhawk Boys, and 2 units of Stormboyz. This looks like a very typical pre-data slate list, which I think still has a bunch of viability because these beast bosses still run around with their dev wounds and beat the crap out of you. And this is the only list we covered today that didn't have Gaz, which is fine. And it does have the Naba Smash Squid with Edwappa's Kill Chopper and the big unit of Knobs, like I like to call the Scalpel unit. So this is a list that we've seen. I've run myself. He only put kind of brutal on here because he just ran out of, like, he just had the 15 points left over. And to let people know, like, this beast boss is going to fall back and charge you again and get dev wounds again means that they're just like, oh no, I have to kill them. You know, they have to kill that guy. So sometimes just letting people know, like, this dude's going to keep coming and keep momentum. When you can force enemies to shoot at what you want them to shoot at as an orc player, or at least you know what they're going to shoot at, that's your power as an orc player. To understand, the enemy won't understand real resource allocation or how much it takes to kill me. Therefore, I hope he overinvests and doesn't have enough left for what I have left. That's what I call him. He said that ain't no scalpel, that's a chopper. Okay, we have his first matchup with his Genestealer Cults. Primus, Reductus Saboteur. You know, this is the guy who throws mortals pretty much. Acolyte Hybrid. Are these the same size? All right. 1, 2, 3 units of Acolyte Hybrids. 1, 2 units of Neophyte Hybrids. A Pure Strain Genestealer unit. Okay, I see you. Achilles Ridge Runners. And then what the heck? He has a allied force of what? 3, 4 Catachan Jungle Fighter units. That means he wants a scout. And then triple Chimeras with 1 Torox Prime. The Chimeras are there because they're actually quite very efficient transport, guys. For 70 points. 5 more points than a truck, way more durable chassis, way more killy chassis, dope armor save. It's just that the guys inside of it suck because they're not boys, right? So this is a not meta army, but you can see, list, but you can see what his idea I'm going to take the middle of the table, keep you off me, put my little spawn marks things in there, and then you're not gonna be able to come tag them because as an orc player, if you run up and tag those, they can't spawn there anymore, which just devastates them. But Ruben ran that over anyways because that's how we do. Now in his second matchup is Aeldari Craft Worlds. Let's see what these gets looking like right now. So we have Artark Wayleaper with the Howling Banshee, man. I was kind of surprised about that. Death Jester, Avatar of Cain, Lilac Nightspear, and a Solitaire. 1 unit of Rangers, 1 unit of Swooping Hawks, 2 units of Warp Spiders, in a Wraith Knight, 2 Vipers, and 2 Warwalk. Very odd list, as you can see from here, guys. And that's just how it is sometimes in other parts of the world. This is why I always say know your own meta, because I can know exactly what's being run in America, almost guess my opponent's list before he even tells me what it's running. What it is. That doesn't mean that applies to everyone generally across the world or even across America. So always take what I say and apply that I'm telling you. Know your meta first and apply what applies to you, and whatever does it, throw it out the window. And his third matchup is World Eaters. Ooh, we got Angron, Jackals. I like the Jackal, but the only thing I really like about Jackals is that they get sticky objective. 1 unit of typical 8-bound and then 2 unit of exalted 8-bound. One thing I think is always overlooked is that these guys give you a reroll 1 to wound aura, which feels magnificent. Chaos, World Eater Chaos spawn just gets a 4 feel no pain. And then 2 Khorne Lords of Skulls. These guys are awesome with their firepower. With Angron as well, you're like, here's my alpha charging, then here's all the meat. Can you handle it? Can you dig it? And orcs are like, yeah, for sure, we can dig it. Don't worry about it. And then they literally dig it and they beat you up. Really love that. World Eaters used to be like a much harder matchup when they didn't take such a huge nerf. Like what I call the Master of Indirect with the Berserker Glaive. He would just chop through like any orc unit. You'd have to fight on death against him. But us just being able to fight on death hurts them as greatly. Like they just hate to know that we can reliably fight on death. So always keep that CP management in the bank when you're fighting World Eaters. Always remember that they do struggle to destroy your transports besides a triple Lord of Skulls or double Lord of Skulls. But for everything else, it comes down to you as an orc player knowing how to manage your resources. The fact that Ruben had multiple beast bosses on foot means that he was able to just run down Angron and punch him out, and then everything else was killed, and I'm sure the Lord of Skulls came last. Then his actual one loss came to, not surprisingly, no offense, the Chaos Knight. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So we have a Stalker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Brigands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carnivores. So he still brought a good amount of brigands, which we hate to see, especially Ruben hated to see because he had 4 trucks. And then this git had 4 units of Nurglings. Now, I will say it really comes down to how good the Chaos Knight player is, because Nurglings can double mess you up as an Orc player. One, he can use every one of these bases to just get in the lanes that you're going to be in as your quad truck list with Nas, and just say, if I go first, I'm going to walk about 1 inch away from your deployment zone, and I'm going to hold you there. That's one. Or two is that he goes, well, point for point, you can't reliably kill a carnivore with anything other than maybe like a Maz on the charge, right? But I'm saying you're not reliably point for point killing anything without an overcommitment, which means like a beast boss on foot with a beast snagger boy unit to kill, let's say, 1 carnivore. That's not an equivalent point trade, which means you're getting destroyed on that. I'm killing you. I'm possibly popping that truck early and killing that too. But if you do try to go into me, if I place a Nurgling there, let's say you take a 5-man unit of knobs and a war boss, and you try to run into my carnivore, and I place a Nurgling in a rune, he has an aura of -1 to hit, which means now your war boss is going to come there with his gits hitting on 4s, especially down the wall. You're not going to kill that carnivore. And then now you've just lost that trade as well. So Chaos Knights have the tools to really mess you up as an Orc player, but it does require the Chaos Knight player to understand your weaknesses as an Orc player and then manage that, right? Another thing they get is they can run through terrain. Typically, Orc players, we're happy to try to move block units we don't want to deal with. The fact that they can run through terrain to get lines of sight on you and pop your trucks with their brigands or charge into you with their carnivores, super annoying. For 1 CP, they can do it to 2 units. And the fact that they get tougher if you start failing Battle Shock is a big deal, because Orcs do have the capability to fail Battle Shock. So that's something I'd really like to see in our codex, is more abilities to ignore, deal with Battle Shock. Because Orcs shouldn't be so scary, especially when they're around a bunch of other Orcs. And then, so he did lose that one, kind of devastating, 41 points. And then last, but certainly not least, was his final game, which was against the Genestealer Cult again. So we had, and Genestealer Cult's got, guys, if Genestealer Cult, if the guy's a good player and you're playing on a certain kind of terrain, like not too crowded, he's going to jump in from the table edges and just do devastating amount of damage to you. Bah, bah, bah. And then he's going to go back and spam these guys and then keep doing it again and again. But I only seen him like once at an event I went to, and then didn't play them. So we have Jackal Alphas, 3 Primus, Sanctus, Acolyte Hybrids, a smaller unit. One was a small unit. 2 big units, a Neophyte unit, a hybrid unit, hybrids, another hybrid unit, Achilles Ridge Runner, and then again with the Pure Strains, 3 units of Pure Strains. That's because they want to keep you off them, and they just want to have actual capability to punch you, not just shoot you off the reserve edge, right? This is again where Orcs being able to just run up the table in their trucks. You pop my truck, hopefully I disembark away from you. Even if you take a couple of my gets down, I'm going to run into and pick up these bricks of Neurophyte hybrids. They hate to see that. They hate to see Orcs, because Orcs are one of the armies that are like, I'm going to punch you off the objective, push you back into your deployment zone, and then continue that for the entire game until you're literally nothing. I just think we are actually a hard matchup for them, as long as the player is familiar enough with their rules. So shout out to Ruben. Whoa, if we're going 4-1, I appreciate you.